images that our church assigns to the Mother of God through hymns, through icons, and prophetically in the Scriptures, about how we hear a lot of different metaphors in the hymns tonight. The fleece of Gideon, fruit, even Butter Mountain, you may have noticed that one. Harbor, safety, the unfading rose. All kinds of very flowery, no pun intended, metaphors for the Mother of God and for the language. These things are not without precedent, of course. Last week we celebrated the great feast of the Annunciation. This is a great feast in our church, not just because it's a feast in which Christ was conceived, that's why it's 9 months before December 25th, March 25th to December 25th, but because the Annunciation was not about Gabriel, it was about the Mother of God. The Annunciation we celebrate was her announcement, yes, and what it meant for the history of salvation. Now, last week also, had we come to the Vespers, for those of us that were at the Vespers before the feast on Wednesday night, there were 3 readings from the Old Testament that are recited not just at this feast, but the eve before any feast of the Mother of God. The first story is from the book of Genesis. And when we talk about images and metaphors, we might hear it in this story as well. From the days of when we used to go to Sunday school, for those of us that are older, or perhaps those of us that are still in Sunday school, or perhaps teachers of Sunday school, we might recall the story of Jacob's ladder. Jacob's ladder. We have a lot of young people tonight, actually. Who remembers that story? Raise your hand. Okay, somebody whose last name is not Basel? Okay. I love how the Sunday school teachers laughed a little bit there. That's good. Jacob's ladder is a beautiful story. It's a story, Jacob, of course, was the grandson of Abraham. He was in the wilderness and he fell asleep one night on a rock out in the middle of nowhere. And he had a dream. And in this dream, he saw a ladder leading from earth to heaven. And angels were going up and down the ladder. And after he woke up, he said, "Truly the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." And he builds an altar there. Well, if we worshiped in a traditional Byzantine church, which we are working on, the entrance to that church would be in the very back of the church. Excuse me, the very back of this church. And the Christian would enter into the church and look straight ahead, and you would see the altar. And behind the altar you would see what? Bravo, Kireleni. The platitera, the icon of the Mother of God, that would go from the altar all the way to just about the ceiling, not quite. And if you kept focusing with your eye going this way, so you're looking at the icon of the Mother of God, it leads the viewer's eyes up and eventually all the way up to the dome, which has Christ, the Pantocrator. Aesthetically, it is a ladder from earth to heaven. Because who is truly the ladder from earth to heaven? The Panagia. Because she united earth to heaven. It's how God came down, and it's how we, humanity that is, go up. And often the platitera is shown with angels on either side of her. This is why it's important to have a Byzantine church as well. So that icon refers to that story, and the altar is basically the rock that Jacob put his head on. So even in our architecture, we have Bible stories. The second story that night is from the prophecy of Ezekiel. Ezekiel has a vision also, as prophets do and did, where he sees a great palace. And once the prince, according to the scriptures, when the prince leaves through the door, when the prince goes through the door of the palace, the door was shut, and only the prince went through the door. This is where our theology of her being an ever virgin comes from. The prophecy of Ezekiel. The door was shut, and only the prince went through the door. In any case, the third reading is from the book of Proverbs about wisdom and how wisdom is referred in the feminine sense, even though it refers to Christ, but in this case that's also baked in, if you will. These are images that are referred to and are used in the scriptures. They are used in our hymnography, not just for services like tonight, but throughout the year, because they explain to us the nexus theologically that is the Mother of God. She is understood in so many different ways, and it's absolutely profound if we take the time to study these stories. They're not arbitrary things that the church throws into these hymns, just randomly, just because they sound nice. They always refer to a greater reality, which is incredible. So theologically, the Mother of God kind of brings all of this together, the Old Testament and the New Testament, earth and heaven, humanity and God, and so many other images. Now, we could be here all night talking about all the images, but let's just say she's very special and she's very important and very profound theologically and spiritually. May we all have her blessing as we continue on our Lenten journey. And may we all endeavor in our life to understand a little bit more about the mysteries that God reveals to us through His scriptures, through His church, and through the hymns of the church. God bless you. And, not Kalisara Kosti, because we're halfway through now, just about. But God bless you, and blessed continuation of Lent. Nastikala, please come forward.